Believe in Bigfoot, Dogman, any cryptid? Are you skeptical?
Curious about the supernatural, conspiracy theories, the unknown? Then come join us as we explore facts, tall tales, and encounters on Creatures and Curiosities.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Creatures and Curiosities. I'm David.
And I'm Jake.
And in this week's episode, we're going to be talking about very bizarre little kids.
Yeah,
called,
that's the only way to put it.
Yeah, it's the only way to put it. They're called black-eyed children. They're often known as just the acronyms BEC or BEK for black-eyed kids. So if you see the BEK listed, that's what they're talking about, is these little demonic-looking creatures. So getting into the description of a black-eyed child, they're usually described as just being regular-looking kids or teenagers. Although pretty much everything during our research showed that they can range anywhere between like the ages of 6 and 13 is generally what I've been seeing. So 13 obviously is a teenager, and I think they can go up into, 17, 18 years old. But everything that I've read so far, they're always described as being like between 9 and 12.
Right, yeah.
So I think they're generally on the younger side of kids, which makes them that much more creepy.
Right. Well, and when we get into it too, to me, it fits the bill a little bit more because they're always trying to get somebody to do something for them, allow them in somewhere.
Right.
And I think as an adult, you're more likely to help out a 9-year-old than you would be, a 17-year-old. I've seen some 17-year-olds walking around with mustaches.
Oh, yeah.
That might be a grown man. I don't know.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah, why would you want to let them into your house when you're standing on the porch with sideburns that look like Elvis Presley or something?
But when you got a little barefoot 9-year-old who's like, hey, can you help me out? You want to do the right thing.
Right, exactly. They typically have pale skin. I've seen in some cases where they say that you can see the veins under the skin, which is, you think about horror movies and stuff where you always see the veins starting to crawl through the skin as they're starting to reveal. On some occasions, they're said to be wearing outdated clothing as though they were from 1800s or whatever. They're known for their persistence in requesting to be let inside, whether it be your car or your house. They're frequently seen on roadside parking lots, rural and urban areas, doesn't really matter. They're kind of just all over.
Yeah.
But they're always wanting permission to enter whatever domain you happen to be in at the time. They initially ask for help, either can we use your phone? Can we get a ride? Whatever it is to kind of lure you into allowing them entry.
Yeah.
If their requests are refused, they're often said to become increasingly demanding and even aggressive. And in some of the sightings that we're going to go over, they do become aggressive.
Yeah.
Their voices are often described as being monotone or older than what they appear. So a 9-year-old might have a voice that's
sounds like yours.
Not fitting for a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
And they often repeat the same phrase or request over and over and over, which that in and of itself is kind of creepy because it's like they're programmed.
Right.
They have a scripted thing that they say and they don't deviate from it.
No.
And they get frustrated when you don't buy into
They
their
start
story.
off sweet and innocent, and then it gets more and more demanding and, violent.
And, there's just something about this, whether you want to call this a lore, an urban legend, whatever classification you want to give these black-eyed kids, whether they're cryptids, they're demons, they're just some mythological being or an extraterrestrial or whatever that you want to say that a black-eyed child is. It just brings on that chilling feeling. There's something about kids, like the innocence of a child is cast aside for that encounter.
Yeah, something that's just evil.
Children of the Corn.
Right.
Things like that, where they're just so evil. And you're expecting this sweet little 6-year-old girl to just be very loving and kind. And, next thing you know, they got a sickle and they're taking your head off.
Yeah.
So there's just there's something wrong about it's like in horror movies. When I was a kid, I think there were three things that I hated the most out of any horror movie. I loved monster movies.
Yeah.
As we already discussed in an episode a while back, I think with Paul, because he was hysterical about, come on over to my house, take a shower, because our shower curtain is Psycho. Psycho drove me insane as a young kid, and it had everlasting effects on me. But the three things that I hated in horror movies, A, dolls. I couldn't stand dolls coming to life and
It's creepy.
biting people or hiding under a bed with a little knife or something. That I hated dolls. I hate women that speak in a male voice, like when they're possessed or something.
Yeah. They have that deep demonic voice.
Yeah. And so you see this beautiful woman or something, but then she's talking, like Zord or something, Beelzebub or something, and I hated that. Always gave me chills as a young boy. Now I don't care, obviously.
Right.
We got so many transsexuals out there that you kind of get used to hearing a male voice come out of a female body. It's no big deal.
Yeah. Still horrifying, but no big.
But anyway, okay.
I digress.
Yeah. And then lastly, kids.
Yeah.
I hate kids in horror movies.
Yeah. Like
It's
The Omen
just
or
wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, The Omen. Was it Insidious? No. What's the one where the kids were watching the film of the lawnmower going over the dad's head and stuff?
I know what you're talking about. The guy was watching the tapes and the thing was in the tapes.
Yes.
I can't remember what the name of it was, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, but you had all these like evil kids and stuff.
Sinister.
Yeah. Going to kill their parents and stuff. And so this brings me right back to what I hated as a child. Evil children that don't look right or obviously trying to kill you. I hate that kind of stuff.
Pet Sematary was the other one I thought of with the little kid with the knife.
Yeah, and the original was way better.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't as good as far as like graphics.
Right.
That we've made leaps and bounds in making things look realistic in Hollywood now. But the original story of the little boy coming back.
That's what I was thinking of.
The remake is the daughter comes back. And it's just, I don't know, it's not as scary to me. But anyway, the bottom line is creepy kids creep me out.
Yeah.
So where are black-eyed children located? Well, initially, I was thinking it was just Texas. And then all of a sudden you find out, no, Europe, England is plagued with them.
Yeah.
Probably more sightings in England than there is anywhere else. As we started looking into this, they were everywhere.
Everywhere.
I mean, it's like everybody's got a story of it. Now, we obviously can't cover all of them because there were so many to choose from.
Yeah.
We probably already listed too many sightings and stories behind, these black-eyed kids, and we probably can't cover all of them.
There's no way
today. But it was just shocking to find out how many of them are out there.
All over Earth.
Yeah.
All over
the place and in different cultures.
Yep.
It was kind of mind-bending because, cryptids are usually localized.
Right.
Whether you got the lizard man or the goat man or the, Sasquatches kind of seem to be all over the place. But in most of the things that we've covered, they're in certain regions, certain areas, and that's where they're famous.
Yeah.
These black-eyed kids are cropping up everywhere, and it's kind of uncanny.
And horrifying at the same time.
And horrifying, yeah.
Because you would think that, we always talk about, we have to travel here to look at this, and we have to travel here to look at that. We just pretty much have to step outside.
Yes.
Or don't step outside because they'll come to your porch.
Yeah. And that's the terrifying part of these stupid kids. You don't go looking for them. They find you.
Yeah.
And I think it's a perilous adventure if you let them in. Now, and I know we're going to kind of get into this, but the other thing about these black-eyed kids is they're renowned for their request is for you to give permission. And if you remember watching vampire movies of the old days.
Oh, yeah.
That's what a vampire required.
Yeah.
It's different in every story. I mean, you got, beautiful Kate Beckinsale playing a vampire. She didn't have to have permission to come in.
Yeah.
So in certain stories, it's different.
I go to like The Lost Boys,
Yeah.
Thinking of that movie where he's like floating out the window and he's asking to be let in. And
right. And then there's the movie, Let Me In.
Yeah.
And that was like a foreign film, and then we remade it. So there's two versions out there. I watched the foreign one, And it was actually pretty good for a cheesy, B-rated type movie. I thought it was actually done quite nicely about the little girl that moves in.
See, I haven't seen this
with
one.
her dad. And
I know of it, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, the little neighborhood boy is kind of like falling for her. He's got a crush on her. They're just kids. But he discovers that she's out there eating people. And she doesn't want to hurt him, but she's always like knocking at the door because you have to let her in.
Right.
And that's the whole point of the movie is she's this little vampire that requires permission before she can kill you. So that's what this reminds me of as well, is these kids have to have permission to enter. And so in my mindset, they're either like vampires or demons.
Yeah.
Because we allow demonic entities into our life too. But anyway.
Which I think, demons and vampires almost go hand in hand.
Yeah, they're hand in hand.
Yeah.
Exactly. According to Roseanne Barr, they're all over Hollywood.
I believe it.
And I believe it too. They wear those ampules with blood in them and stuff, Yeah, the world's gone mad. Anyway, let's get into the origin story. I know this was one of the first documented cases, or it's believed to be the first documented case, right?
Yeah.
In Texas. So why don't you start us off with that?
Yeah, so it's in Abilene, Texas, and it takes place in 1996. A guy by the name of Brian Bethel has an encounter with him while he's paying his internet bill. So he finishes up a late shift at the local paper he worked, which is the Abilene Reporter News. And Brian was sitting in his car in the parking lot of the Westwood Center Strip Mall, and he's writing out a check to Camelot Communications. He was just going to hop out and leave the check in the drop slot at the business. Now, a lot of young people probably don't know about writing checks anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
You'd be surprised how many people I run across now that can't even actually address an envelope.
Yeah, isn't it sick?
It blows me away.
Everything is email and online payments now.
But this is something we used to do. You used to write a check and then you put it in the drop slot. But
yeah.
Anyway.
And I can picture this because the guy's sitting out there, right? He's got his head down,
he's just writing away.
Looking at
probably
his
has the bill next to it, seeing how much it is.
Yeah, so he's not paying attention to his surroundings.
Yeah. So he's sitting in his car and he hears a knock at the window, which was partly rolled down at the time. And he looks up and he knows his two boys, and he guesses their ages to be between 9 and 13, just like you were saying earlier. And they're wearing hooded sweatshirts, standing right next to his car. One of the boys asked Brian for a ride to their mother's house because they wanted to get money from her so they can catch a late night showing of Mortal Kombat at the mall's movie theater. But sitting there thinking about it, something just doesn't sit right with Brian, because the movie that they want to see had already started about 45 minutes prior. He also notices that they sounded much older than they appeared. Then, in the dim lights of the parking lot, he notices that the kids' eyes were completely black. Now, at that point, you're probably already startled, right? Because somebody tapped on your window and you realize that your situational awareness wasn't
right.
You're scared from that.
Yeah, little startling.
Yep. And then maybe you kind of get brought down because you're like, oh, it's just a couple kids. But now their eyes are completely black.
Yeah, that's too much for me already.
And to people who would think that, from my point of view, to people who would think, oh, it's a dim parking lot like he said, that doesn't mean that their eyes are going to be completely black.
No.
Just because the lighting outside is different.
Right.
I just don't think that you could see that incorrectly.
No, black eyes are black eyes.
Exactly.
Because the whites of your eyes still show even in the dark.
Right.
And you can see there's a separation of pupil, iris, and sclera very easily.
Exactly.
And when the whole thing is black, no, that's time to scoot.
Yeah. Well,
I wouldn't be there.
So he becomes overwhelmed and he gets this internal cold feeling and he feels a sense of terror.
Which would be a normal feeling at that point.
Exactly how I would feel. So he said he gives them an excuse that he had to go get something, so he couldn't give them a ride. One of the boys tries consoling him by making statements like, we're just kids, we aren't going to hurt you, and we don't have a gun or anything.
Yeah, which red flag.
Yeah.
When somebody has to say, it's not like I have a gun or anything.
Yeah, it's not like I'm going to rob you.
I'm not going to hurt you. That'd be my first thought.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're going to do. So Brian starts rolling the window up, and the boy begins banging on his car. And while that boy's doing that, the other one screams, we can't come inside your car unless you tell us it's okay. Let us in.
Yeah, and I remember during our research that is pretty much the only discrepancy in stories, because this guy's told this story over and over. And in one account, And this is also not possibly from him, but the way people interpret it, right?
Right.
And so when you're researching and you're seeing that some other people are telling the same story, some people said it was the other boy that yelled it, and some say that it was the kid knocking on the window. So that is one small discrepancy that we found. But watching his interview, it was clearly the initial kid that was knocking on the window.
Yeah.
So I don't know where that got mixed up. If anybody else is like looking into this,
Right.
and you'll see there's two different accounts of that. Bethel actually says in an interview that it was the spokesperson, the initial kid banging on the window.
Yeah.
He's yelling,
Which
let us in.
That doesn't discredit the story whatsoever.
No.
You know, I could be telling you a story, you know, and my wife's standing there and I'd be like, yeah, we were at lunch the other day and this happened. And she'd go, oh, no, remember that was dinner. But, oh, yeah, you're right. That was dinner. It happens. You just
Right.
misspeak or misremember, but it doesn't take away from the main, that small detail doesn't take away from the main plot of the story.
Exactly. And it's like we've said in several episodes, if 6 people watch a car accident, you're going to have 6 different stories.
Right.
Doesn't mean the accident didn't happen.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So if people see things differently and there's different accounts. And so when this guy gives his multiple interviews, because once this story broke, everybody and their brother wanted to talk to him about it.
Right.
It could be that they heard something different than what he said, and then they document it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, this guy's a liar because,
Right.
it's a different story every time.
If you got a reporter who's recording you and you go verbatim, that's one thing. If you got a reporter who's taking hand notes and when they go over their notes to write the story, maybe they misremember.
Right.
I'm pretty sure he said this at this point, so I'm going to type the story up like that.
Yeah. And I think this guy's credible.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he throws the car into reverse and speeds away, which that's the only logical response.
I wouldn't even
Yeah.
have gone as far as this guy did in talking to him.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw those black eyes,
Yeah, the black,
Oh, I'm
windows
gone.
getting rolled up and you're
Yep,
gone.
gone.
I don't even know if I would have rolled the window up
I wouldn't have taken the time to do that.
because I'm assuming mid 90s, you might not have a electronic window. It's got the crank one, so
Yeah.
I'm gone.
Yep.
See ya.
Totally gone.
So, when he speeds away, he looks back, he notices the kids are gone. He said that even if they ran away, there was no place for them to hide and he would have seen them because they're out in the parking lot.
Right.
So,
And it's a strip mall, so they're mostly closed businesses.
right, because it's nighttime.
So it's not like they can run into a business.
Right.
So they got to run the length of the strip mall, and he's looking in his rearview mirror, and they're just disappeared.
Nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
Which just leads more towards potentially, maybe vampires do this too, but to me, that's more demonic.
Yeah. Well, and it depends which lore of vampires you want to believe.
Right.
Could have turned into bats and flown away.
Yeah,
or
there you go.
teleport or whatever it is that they do.
So Brian later writes about his encounter to a small group of friends on an email list. The incident was eventually leaked out on the internet where it ended up going viral. And we looked all over the place. You can't find the original article for that. It's just not available online anymore.
And in fact, I even read that it isn't available anymore. It was a private email list, number one.
Yeah.
That he sent the original story out to people on email. So you're not going to recover that.
Right.
And then whoever it was that leaked it out to the internet, that's gone as well. That's not out there. So still doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Exactly.
They clearly sent it out because then it became a thing.
Right.
And everybody wants to interview him.
So in 2012, he ends up appearing on the TV series Monsters and Mysteries in America, which love that show.
I do too.
And he tells his story. He told the same story in 2013 to the Haunted Spots blog, and again in 2014 in an interview with Strange Chronicles at Midnight.
Yeah, and now those were easy to find.
Right.
And so I watched the entire interview on Strange Chronicles at Midnight. It's only like 17-minute long interview or something like that. I don't remember actually, but it's not that long. It was easy to sit and watch. He tells the story precisely as we just told it. So nothing changed.
Yeah.
I also read the Haunted Spots blog. I read that whole thing, and that is still available out there if you guys are interested in reading it. And they tell the exact same story as we're relating it.
Yeah.
The one thing the guy says in that interview is that he is a reporter and a journalist, and he would never make up a story and destroy his reputation as a news reporter.
Because once you're found out, you're done.
Yeah. I mean, because if somebody said, no, he's a liar, then you've lost all credibility as a reporter.
Yep.
And he said, I would never do that. And the one thing that makes him extremely angry is people saying, you made it all up for notoriety. And he said, I have no reason to do that. And in my line of work, I have to be telling truth and fact.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to make something up that would jeopardize my career.
No paper's going to hire you. No journal's going to hire you. You're toast.
You're toast at
You'd
that
have to
point.
start your own thing, and then people still aren't going to listen to you because you're a noted liar.
And this is what makes him, in my opinion, so credible, is because I believe exactly what he said is what he saw. Now, you could say, well, he didn't see what he saw. And that's possible, right?
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know what he actually saw, but I don't think he lied about what he saw.
Agreed.
So
yeah.
it happened.
It happened. Yeah. Get over it. It happened.
Yeah.
So, yeah, in the 2014 interview, he said that he still feels a sense of fear to this day and described it as, lack of a better term, like PTSD.
Yeah.
He says he felt he was, quote, a razor's edge away from death, end quote, and that he felt he was literally being hunted, which to me, that's an evil presence.
Yeah.
If you're feeling this overwhelming sense of fear and that something's coming after you after an encounter like that or during an encounter like that, it's evil, because we've covered stuff where people see things that should be horrifying and you should fear this, and they feel nothing like that.
Right. And he literally stated in that interview that sense of cold that he felt that you mentioned earlier was an internal cold, not an external cold. Like, a lot of people will say in the presence of a ghost,
Yeah.
it gets cold in the room.
The window cracked so a breeze came through. Yeah.
Yeah. And he said it's not that. It was a internal gut feeling that he was washed over by this cold sense of terror. And that's the presence of evil,
Yeah.
right?
It has to be.
Bottom line.
Bottom line. So he said that only one of the kids spoke to him, and his verbiage seemed practiced and deliberate. Bethel said the rise and fall of his voice was almost hypnotic, which goes back to what we were talking about with the whole monotone thing.
Right.
The kid had curly hair and is now dubbed as, quote, the spokesman, end quote. The boy behind him had red hair, pale skin, and freckles. Brian said that the look on the boy's face when he refused them a ride was that of surprise, almost like he had never been refused before.
Yeah, he said that it appeared like the kid was like, oh no, we're found out.
Yeah.
He knows what we are. He said that's the look that the boy
Yeah.
had. It wasn't just surprise as much as it was like, oh no, he knows.
Yeah. Which, that little detail, to me, if they were just normal kids, and you're like, hey, they were asking this in this situation, and you're like, no, they'd go, kind of, slunk the shoulders down, defeat. They'd be in defeat, like,
Right.
okay, and then go away. Or they'd beg a little more and then walk away, but they wouldn't act surprised.
No.
Not a 9-year-old.
Not a 9-year-old.
No. Unless you're a black-eyed demon. And then,
Yes.
Yeah. So Bethel said he did not believe the kids were of this world. He also said that he would never risk his reputation as a news reporter or journalist by making up such a story. And like you were saying earlier, it makes him angry and people are skeptical and thinks he lied about it.
Which we've talked about in thousands of
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
That people are afraid to report what they see because they don't want to be written off as a nut.
Right. And he is proof of that because people are calling him a liar.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
essentially trying to tarnish his reputation because of it.
Yeah. It's just crazy.
So when you have these professional, quote unquote, professional jobs, journalist, law enforcement, lawyer, doctor, whatever, where maybe you're viewed more in the public, you don't want to say anything because you're in fear of what he's going through.
Very true.
So sometime after his strange encounter with the two black-eyed children, he calls a friend of his named Chad, who he had gone on ghost hunts with previously. Now, Chad had two female friends with him, both of whom claimed to have psychic abilities. During the call, Bethel started to describe his encounter to Chad. When one of the women stopped him early on in the narrative to ask if the children had black eyes, Bethel said that they did and then asked why. So the woman said that a week earlier she had a dream about children wanting to be let into her house, and though it took a little while for her to realize it, the children had black eyes. She kept her house locked up tight. She felt that if they were let into her house, they would have killed her. The woman told Bethel that had he let them into his car, they would have killed him too. Bethel's encounter is believed to be the first documented story of these entities.
Yes. Now, I also saw that some people on the internet were trying to discredit him.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things they came up with was, and I don't see how you can discredit this story at all. The only thing you could say is it was dark outside, so he couldn't have seen their eyes. Not true, right?
Right.
There was a big movie theater there with a marquee that was lighting it up, and he was able to see his check that he was writing on. So he could certainly see, it's light enough to see their faces.
Right.
2, they said that Mortal Kombat came out in 1995, and he's claiming this was 1996. So therefore, this is a whole year after when it should have taken place. So his facts are inaccurate and on and on. I mean, they're just trying to find anything they can to discredit him.
Yeah.
He says this was either spring or summer, and that's close enough for me. I think back to my UFO encounter and all that kind of stuff. I don't know exactly what month it was and all that. I mean, it's 20 years ago.
Yeah.
30 years ago. This guy, when he's telling these stories, it's 2014. He's doing this interview, and that was in 1996. So could you get a little foggy on the exact date or even the time of year?
Right.
He knew it was spring or summer. It was probably nice outside. And what difference does it make if the movie came out in 1995? Maybe the incident was 1995 and he was off by a year in his memory.
Or just a few months.
Or it was a reshowing of Mortal Kombat, a year later at a little theater in a strip mall. So to me, the people that are trying to discredit him are probably just afraid of black-eyed children, and they don't want to believe it's real.
It's the people who have to rationalize it.
Yes.
Even if the rationalization sounds outlandish because it makes them feel better.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
And that's how I'm chalking that up, because I believe this guy saw what he saw and was so terrified that he took off. I mean, it makes perfect sense to me. So he's credited with the first sighting, but it seems that black-eyed children have actually been plaguing areas of England for many years, and some believe as far back as the 1960s. And I've actually read some stuff where that goes back even further than that globally. Like other places have seen black-eyed kids, in the 1920s and the late 1800s. And so this is something that you can't really pinpoint anything, but Bethel's encounter was the first that was actually documented in a paper, in interviews, etc.
Right.
In England, they have this Cannock Chase district, which is located in Staffordshire, England. And they have had several encounters with black-eyed kids. And I guess this is like a forested kind of an area.
Yeah.
I don't know how many have been documented as far as like an actual journaled thing or a police report or anything of that nature, but we did get some of the local papers. One is a tabloid, though. And so the Daily Star in England, I think, is probably equivalent to our National Enquirer.
Yeah. Though, at the same time, we could write it off, but maybe it's like, obviously I'm going to reference a movie to make it funny, but like in Men in Black, where they pick up the tabloids and they're like, this is the best source of information that we have. Hey, maybe it is.
Yeah.
But we write it off as being crazy.
And that's possible because they're willing to publish encounters.
Yeah.
Somebody says, I saw a dog boy. And then they run the article where everybody else just goes, come on, knock it off.
Yeah, we're not doing this.
We're not doing it.
Yeah.
Anyway, starting in about the year 2014, the UK's Daily Star actually started running at least 3 different headlines. I actually found a little more than that. But if you look it up on the internet, there's like 3 headlines about black-eyed children in the Cannock Chase area. And so we're going to go over a couple of those.
Yeah. And this Cannock Chase area, I think you put it best before we started the podcast. For those who don't know, or if you live in the States here in America, Cannock Chase sounds like their version of the Appalachian Mountains.
Yes.
For us here in America, they got stuff.
It's plagued with ghosts.
Yeah.
Black-eyed kids.
Werewolves. Shadow people. It's got anything paranormal and supernatural seems like it's happening in that place.
Yeah. They have a bunch of paranormal investigators that are always out there trying to locate different things. So getting into, let's do one of the UK Daily Star articles. We'll start off with that one. In 2015, on May 7th, they ran a front page article that was entitled, "The Haunted Pub Everyone's Too Scared to Buy. Black-Eyed Ghost Terrifies Buyers." And I read the whole article.
Yep.
That's the cool part about newspaper articles and stuff is most of them are available online and you
Right.
can still read them. And so this one kind of starts off as the Four Crosses Inn in Cannock Chase was recently declared the most haunted boozer in Britain, is of course what the article says. It's in the heart of the area where the black-eyed child was recently returned after a 30-year absence. So, this is a 2015 article, and they're claiming that 30 years prior they had encounters with this black-eyed child. And this thing has now returned to the area. And so kind of getting into this, they say that this ghostly thing screams in pain, and it's been seen knocking at the door of this particular pub. And the temperature seems to drop when you go inside, so you'll need nerves of steel to take over this business. That's pretty funny. But what they're talking about is not necessarily that black-eyed child. They're saying that there was a whole bunch of like paranormal activity that was going on in the pub. They routinely saw an apparition of a woman there. They have a piano that's inside that the piano would just start playing by itself. They had paranormal investigators actually going into this place, and they walked out stating that they've never seen anything like it, that the paranormal activity within the bar was off the charts. But now all of a sudden, this demonic black-eyed child shows up, and it starts terrifying the patrons of this pub. And it's like not leaving. And it's, the people would walk out of the bar, try and get in their cars, and this little creature would be standing there asking, can I get in the car with you? Can I have a ride home?
Which is way worse than the apparition. I'll take the haunted, ghostly woman all day over that thing.
Exactly. Or the piano playing.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's kind of like, well, as long as it's playing good music.
Yeah, get a good tune going.
So several of the locals are said to have seen it downstairs, dressed in ratty clothing, before disappearing through a wall. Well, and so that kind of throws me off, though, because I thought the little child was like a physical, touchable entity.
Right.
And they're saying, no, this thing like can disappear and stuff. The black-eyed child first appeared in Cannock Chase in the 1960s after the murder of 3 young girls. There was this car mechanic named Raymond Morris who was convicted of one of the killings in 1969, and of course he later died in jail. But the black-eyed child then began to haunt the area before disappearing, only to emerge again at this pub. And so they're thinking that one of the 3 girls that he killed, he's only convicted of one, but they believe that he killed all 3.
Yeah.
That one of those kids is the black-eyed child that came back to haunt the area. And could it be?
It could be.
It might be.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? So the article goes on to say, quote, "It's such a great shame that the Four Crosses has closed. We're hoping someone will breathe new life into it so we can go back and seek out the dead."
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it's got to be, it has to be horrifying if you're getting business and then people are like, it's too much. We don't want to come here anymore.
yeah, the owner just got up and walked away from the place.
I mean, I'm turning into a tourist trap at that point.
Yeah. Well, they tried it as a tourist trap for a while.
I would think
But people
it
were
just
too
doesn't
afraid to go.
See, I would go to that. I would pay money to go to that. And, in my head, you're thinking, oh, maybe they're going to hoax you. It just doesn't make sense that it didn't do well. I don't know. That's just me, I guess.
Well, maybe some people thought if we go, we open up our hearts to evil or something, and just decided to stay out of there. But anyway, from what I understand, the place is still up for sale. So if you want it,
yeah,
go get it. Maybe we can have a black-eyed child experience.
There we go.
Let's see. I'll do the next one, and then you can move on from there.
Sounds good.
October 30th of 22, back in the UK's Daily Star, they publish an article entitled "Black-Eyed Ghost Child First Spotted in 1980s Reappears During COVID Lockdown." Now, I'm going to have you go over that story because this is a tabloid rag, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people would say, well, you guys are just quoting stuff from an obviously anecdotal type paper. It's all in fun. It's all a joke. It's ridiculous. Well, this particular story ended up in the Staffordshire Live newspaper. And so I'm going to have you go over that next.
Yeah.
Now, the Daily Star published the exact same article, but I think it's probably more credible coming from an actual newspaper source versus the tabloid. So you can go over that in detail on the next thing.
Yeah.
But in this same article, they talk about this guy. His name is Lee Brickley, and he's an acknowledged expert on paranormal activity within that Cannock Chase area. And he told not only the story that you're going to go over next, but he also said that in the late 1980s, his own aunt, who he refers to as Auntie, had an experience on Cannock Chase wherein he believes that it was the first time a black-eyed child had been spotted by anyone. He says this predates the Abilene, Texas thing and all the other cases, that his aunt was the first one to see a black-eyed child. And he says that his aunt and her friends were enjoying a summer's day in the woods when a child with black eyes appears around 30 meters in front of them down a dirt track. And his aunt, being about 18 years old at the time, ran after this child, presuming that this little kid was lost and needed assistance. But no matter how fast she ran, she was unable to catch up with the little girl. As soon as she'd speed up her pace and start sprinting, so would the little kid. She just could not catch this kid. And he says that his aunt eventually fell over and sprained her ankle. When she got home, she told her mother about the experience, who reported it to the local police. And there was a police search in Cannock Chase at the time, but no little girl was ever found. He says that, as it turns out, his aunt was not the only person who suffered a minor injury while chasing a black-eyed child. There was also another incident in October of 2019 when a young girl chased after a black-eyed child near Castle Ring, and again, completely unable to catch up with her.
Right.
This little kid was, booking. And he says the girl involved ran through the trees, following the black-eyed child until she reached a sheer cliff edge, dropped off around 20 feet down. And had she not managed to slow her pace and avoid the fall, the girl would have come to serious harm. So this little black-eyed child disappeared out of the blue, but was leading her
to her death.
Potentially,
yeah.
So none of this stuff obviously can be confirmed. These are just stories. But this Lee Brickley guy is like an expert in paranormal investigations, and he covers that whole Cannock Chase area. And him being able to relate stories that were like personally told to him by people, I guess you could say that, okay, he's overemphasizing things for stories. I mean, a paranormal investigator would do that, right?
Yeah.
If
you think of and obviously you think of the show like Ghost Hunters.
Yes.
Where every creak of a house is what was that? It was
You've never seen anything on that show, right? There's nothing ever happens. They're in a dark room. They got the green glow of the night vision. Did you hear that? Or did you see that? Or did you feel that? Or I just got a chill. The room temperature dropped. Our RF meter went off, but you never see anything.
Right.
And so, yes, they do love to over-exaggerate and scare themselves into believing something's there for ratings.
Yeah.
And so Lee Brickley may or may not be a credible source, but Bethel is.
Yeah.
And if Bethel told the story of a black-eyed child, and Lee Brickley is telling multiple stories of black-eyed child encounters within that Cannock Chase area, I don't think he's just sensationalizing. I think he's relating stories that other people have told him. And I think he 100% believes it. So he's turning that information over to the Daily Star.
Yeah. You're just reporting things.
Yeah.
Which is what you're supposed to do as a reporter.
Yeah. So I can't say, yes, this guy's credible. I can't say he's not credible.
Right.
But what I can say is that there's multiple cases of black-eyed children showing themselves in England.
And like we've said,
specific to that area.
And like we've said a million times, and we'll say a million more, if you take all those stories and only one of them is true, then it's true. There's nothing else to it but that.
It has to be.
So yeah, moving on to the article you were talking about. It was November 6th of 2022 in the Staffordshire Live newspaper. They published an article titled, "Couple Traumatized After Terrifying Encounter with Knack Chases Black-Eyed Child." Now, during the COVID lockdowns, two 17-year-olds, Kylie Drakeford and Ben Tilley, decided to go camping in the Birches Valley area of Cannock Chase during the summer of 2021. So it was a rainy night, and they were huddled up in their tent when they started hearing what sounded like something pacing around right outside the tent. Now, at first they thought it was nothing more than a deer or some kind of animal, so they just remained quiet, trying not to spook it. When they realized, though, it was actual footsteps that they were hearing, they decided to unzip the door of the tent to see what was going on.
Which is kind of terrifying.
Yeah.
Right? You're out there at night.
Yep. And your kids.
Just
trying to have a good time. And yeah, you could be getting axe murdered.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking, probably could be like the Hillside Strangler or something horrifying.
BTK killer. It's whatever.
Yeah.
Now, after getting the flap open, they heard what sounded like a little girl giggling, which... that's still horrifying.
I'm going to say that's more terrifying than a potential serial killer.
Because you're nighttime, raining, and the sound of a little girl giggling.
Yeah.
They should, if there actually is a little girl out there, they shouldn't be giggling.
No.
They should be crying and asking for help.
Yeah.
Like a normal little person.
Yeah. No, it's too much.
It's too much, yeah. So they step out of the tent and into the darkness to check to see if someone was lost. Now they turn on their flashlights, and Ben sees it first, running from tree to tree, and it's hiding itself behind the trunks and occasionally peeking out towards the couple before finally stepping out into the clearing in front of them. And lo and behold, they're now face to face with a black-eyed child.
Yeah. Now, see, this is where I say it's too much. Okay?
It's too much.
Because
it's too much.
And I know you're going to get into it here probably in the article, but this thing is almost like teleporting behind these trees.
Right.
It's not normal. And I'm just trying to put myself in this kid's place, right?
Right.
Put yourself out in a dark, rainy forest, a little girl giggling, wearing tattered clothes, or I always picture them in some white flowing garb, like a horror movie would be. But she's ducking in behind trees like at an unnatural pace or movement.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that little girl, she's on her own.
Yeah.
Man, I'd grab little Kylie or whatever her name was and say, we got to go.
The tent's staying. We'll get it later.
Staying. Yep. I would be running out of that forest at Mach 6.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
that's just me.
Yeah. And depending on if I caught a glimpse of those black eyes, you might be just firing shots randomly into the woods.
Well, you would if you had a gun. But in England, nobody has a gun.
Yeah.
So.
Sorry about that, guys. I'm sure guys' fault at that point. But anyway, so in her interview, Kylie states, quote, "I was absolutely terrified. I'd read the stories in the news about the black-eyed child, but it wasn't until the thing stood right in front of me that I could quite believe them. I knew instantly that we were dealing with the real thing because it moved in ways humans simply can't move. It was like it could teleport from one place to another when it was moving around and hiding behind the trees," end quote. Just like you said.
Yeah. See, and I couldn't, that's just.
So, and I also picture too, you've been outside, obviously, when it's dark out, raining, and maybe you have your flashlight on and you could see the rain falling in the light of your flashlight.
Yeah.
And you've got it against the trees and it darts across. So now you've lost sight of it. So now you're frantically kind of searching for it and it's popping out again. It's horrifying.
It is horrifying. And all I can picture is like that chick from The Ring.
Yeah. With the wet, long hair.
Long hair over her face.
Laughing at you.
Black eyes, which she didn't have. But in this case, it would be the black eyes, the wet, stringy hair, and her giggling and ducking in behind trees and stuff. I'd be so far gone.
And then see, I'm waiting for when it pops out, it just stares at you, and then it starts doing that voice thing, and you're like, no, you're dead. Yeah, you're dead.
No.
So Ben says, quote, "I was shining my torch right at her, and she just stood there, staring at us with her head slightly dipped. That's when the giggling started to get louder and louder. It really sounded like it was coming from all around us, even though I could see she was right in front of us. It was really disorienting for a few seconds. Then she bent down for a moment as if adjusting her shoes, stood back up, and ran off down a nearby path through a dense section of trees, end quote.
Yeah, well, at least she didn't kill him.
Yeah, I mean, it horrified him. You'll never sleep again.
No.
But
they
you're alive.
did. But they did.
Yeah, they did.
They go back to their tent.
Yeah.
It's like, come on. Man, I would have been so far out of that forest.
So, yeah, like you said, Ben and Kylie retreated back to their tent where they remained until morning, which, I don't know how far away their vehicle was from the campsite.
I wouldn't care if it was 25 miles.
It doesn't matter.
I'd have been on my way.
You have a flashlight. And even if you don't, I'm assuming you went down a trail and just popped off at a little area, clearing. So when they awoke in the morning, it was about 7 a.m., they exit the tent and they found stones evenly spaced around the perimeter of their tent and what appeared to be crude wooden ornaments made of twigs hanging from nearby trees. So now I think of the Blair Witch and stuff.
Blair Witch.
Yep.
Exactly. But with black eyes, a kid, and giggling.
Yeah.
Too much.
It's too much.
Yeah.
And here's where it gets even more irritating. So they packed up and started the 15-minute walk back to Ben's car.
Yeah, 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
I would have been gone, and I would have done it in 7.
Yeah, easily. And I probably would have shoved Kylie down too, because I don't know how close they are, but she's toast.
And Kylie's on her own.
Yeah. So suddenly Kylie spotted a small child with black eyes peering back at her from behind an oak tree, and she screamed. Ben said he shouted, quote, "Leave us alone," end quote, as the pair ran off toward the vehicle.
Yeah, so this little creature's stalking them now.
Yeah.
You got to kind of wonder why she didn't do something else, though. Well, they didn't invite her into the tent.
So maybe that's why.
But I guess the question is, what was she doing?
Tormenting them?
Yeah. And for what purpose? I mean, I don't know.
That's when you just get to your pure evil at that point.
Yeah, I mean, because what else could it be?
Yeah.
She didn't knock on. Well, she was pacing on the outside. Maybe she was hoping they'd go, "Come on in, little girl," or something.
Yeah,
and then,
she'd pop out. She's right there. Do you need to come in? Yeah.
Eats their throats and moves on with life.
Or possesses them forever.
Or,
and makes them kill their family. Who knows?
Who knows what they do? These dirty little things. So another article, UK Daily Star tabloid, was published on November 23rd of 24. And the title on this one is Gangs of Black-Eyed Ghost Children Terrorize Brits in UK's Most Haunted Woods. So, you know what? This is Appalachia.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing.
Yeah. I would assume they have their own, they should have their own set of rules, kind of like we do here.
Yeah.
You hear whispers and all that stuff, all the rules that we've gone over before.
Rules. Yep. And they should have them there in England.
Yeah.
This article goes on to say the horrifying ghouls are getting braver because gangs of black-eyed ghost children are now terrorizing people that are just walking through the woods. Hikers and dog walkers say they're being visited by horrifying apparitions who tend to stalk the woodlands just as the sun goes down. Black-eyed children have been seen before in Cannock Chase in Staffordshire, one of Britain's haunted hotspots, but paranormal experts fear that they're getting braver as they're now going as far as to physically touch these people to scare them. People in the area say they get a cold feeling swooping through their stomach and a feeling of being watched just before the tiny terrors arrive. So they're reiterating what Bethel felt.
Yeah.
The swooping, cold feeling internal, not an external thing.
Right.
So these people are sensing that evil, and then these little demon children are walking up and touching them. That's just sick. And
it's horrifying, yeah.
It's just crazy. But then this article goes on to talk about this unnamed guy who's walking through the woods, and all of a sudden he felt a weird sensation in his stomach, like a feeling of impending doom. And then his dog starts to go mad, barking and pulling on the leash. And he said that he stopped to look around when he felt something tugging on the back of his coat. He jumps, turns around to see this little pale-faced girl, completely black eyes, and he says that she looks like she wasn't even human. Her clothes were in rags. She giggled, And he said that he felt chills go up and down his spine before she skips off into the trees.
So have you ever seen the movie 300? With like the Spartans?
A long time ago, yes.
There's the scene where the guy comes to King Leonidas to tell him to surrender or whatever, and then he front kicks him in that well. That would be me right in this situation. I would turn around, see the little girl, black eyes, and then I'm just front kicking her.
You have to.
And you have to, yeah. And you just have to hope it's not a joke she's playing, so you don't get charged with a felony.
Exactly. We have a lot more, but let's just touch on a couple more of these sightings, and we'll move on.
Alrighty.
You want to do the next one?
Yeah, 92 here.
Sure.
Yeah. So on November 19th of 1992, a man was watching a great movie, Evil Dead.
Yep.
While
that was a good one.
Wife and children, were sound asleep in their room upstairs. I've never been scared of movies, even growing up, but there was something about this when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
That lady in the cellar horrified me.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that this was the one movie that terrified you as a kid.
I love it now. I watch it and I laugh at the fact that I was scared of it as a kid, but when I watched this as a kid, could not sleep for days.
Yeah, I watched the remake, which was a little more gory.
Oh, yeah.
You remember when she's in the kitchen cutting her arm off with the electric knife and stuff?
Yeah.
But my wife, who will not watch a horror movie under any circumstances, she's laying in bed next to me. She's asleep. And I'm watching the remake of Evil Dead. And the scene where the girl is trying to convince her brother to come down into the basement because she's locked up down there. And she kind of looks like Linda Blair from The Exorcist, right? Her face is all messed up. And he opens the trap door that goes down into the underground basement. And he opens it up and she's peering out that crack. And Jamie wakes up right at that point, looks at the TV, and she screams and throws the covers over her head and yells, "What in God's name are you watching?" And I'm like, "It's Evil Dead."
Yeah. You want to watch?
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
You should watch it with me.
Oh, that's great. So it was around 1:30 a.m. when he decides to head to bed after the movie was over. Suddenly, there was loud pounding on his front door, and what stood behind the door would, of course, change his life forever.
Naturally.
There stood a boy and a girl, about 8 and 11, who never looked up and were standing barefoot. And it's Michigan, and it's wintertime. So clearly he knows that there's something off here.
Sure.
Which, cutting back real quick, what is it with the not looking up? I'm assuming they're trying to conceal the eyes to get permission, right? I mean, that has to be what it is.
Right.
Okay. So he allows the children to enter and allows them to use the phone so they can call their parents. But when he went to get them the phone, they were gone. So in the dead silence of the night, he hears the first scream coming from one of the upstairs bedrooms. And when the man reached his wife's room, he was met by a devastating sight of his wife in a pool of blood and terrifying sounds of bones snapping and flesh ripping, and saw the bare feet of the children he had just let in his home.
I'm assuming blood tracks.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Covered in blood. Now, before he could act, the barefoot children moved swiftly to his kids' room and they locked the door. Despite the man's best efforts, he could not help his children and stood helpless behind the door. Now, I'm guessing that if this story is true, obviously, that's where it just proves even more that this is a demonic entity.
Yeah. Demonic and or vampirish.
Right. Because we're talking about an interior door. It's hollow.
Right.
Nothing's going to stop me from getting through that door.
No.
If I hear my kids screaming on the other side, I don't care if it's locked. Yeah. I'm either going to kick the door in or I'm just going to shoulder it in because it's hollow.
Right. And because they don't really specify, you got to wonder if there was like a evil force holding the door closed.
That's what I'm getting at. Like it has to be that, because even if you just lock the door, there's nothing that's keeping me back unless there's an evil presence.
Yeah. And it has to be because what you just read was despite the man's best effort. Well, what was his effort? Yelling at the door? No, he's trying to kick it down.
Is he just jiggling the handle until it hopefully?
Like an idiot?
Yeah.
No, he's trying to get in and he can't.
I think of Ace Ventura with the keys when he's first trying to, get in. Like, what's he doing? Because if someone's never booted a door in, it's a lot easier than you think. There's not a lot of wood holding between.
An interior door is nothing anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, so when the act was done, the door slowly opens and there stood the barefoot children. Now they're covered in blood, and they stood defiantly with awful grins and eyes completely black, like the devil himself. Is how the story's read.
So it's a great story, one that would be fun to tell at a campfire,
great, yeah.
you know, when you're out
Add
camping.
a little bit more description to it, and
yeah,
it's good to go.
Could totally get into it, but I could not find anything online that would lend any credibility to the story.
I was looking for newspaper articles taking away the wording of black-eyed children too, just something with
and
a family getting killed.
It's too hard to find because this doesn't even say where it was.
Right.
Gives you a date, which is great. You type that date in and say, you know, dead kids and wife, and there's nothing.
Right.
So I'm going to say that probably didn't happen.
Right.
But if it did, how horrifying would that be? Okay, so moving on to another story. In January of 2016, this takes place in the United States in Vermont. And there is a woman who unfortunately made the tragic mistake of letting two little black-eyed children into her home. And so the details were that there's a blizzard raging outside, and, you know, Vermont can get very cold. She hears a faint knocking on her front door, and she sees this little boy and a little girl standing there shivering, begging to use her phone, which, you know, it's just the same story.
Yeah.
Right? Unnerved by their presence, the woman nevertheless lets them in and goes to retrieve her phone. And after the children walked into the light of the family room, she realizes that their eyes are completely black. She stares at them in horror. Her husband's nose starts to bleed, and at the same time, the power suddenly goes out at the house. What felt like an eternity to her, the children spoke in unison, saying their parents had just arrived. So the woman watches as these two quietly left her house and entered a black car with some guy in a suit. Not long after that encounter, the woman's husband is diagnosed with severe skin cancer, and she begins to suffer from regular nosebleeds and an onslaught of other medical issues. So she's convinced that her failing health, along with her husband's, was a result of this visit from the black-eyed children. Now, I don't really get this story.
Yeah.
They come in, they didn't do anything other than maybe leave them with a curse.
Yeah.
So maybe that's, you know, all they were doing in this particular case. But then getting into a black car with a guy in a suit, that's kind of weird.
That is kind of weird.
That doesn't fit the story of any other black-eyed child encounter. Usually they're just running and they vanish.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, that's the story.
But I would be more inclined to let two kids in my house in the middle of winter who are freezing rather than a guy in a suit. To be honest, if it was wintertime and a guy in a suit knocked on my door at 1 a.m., I probably wouldn't even open the door.
Yeah. Clearly not, but who's the guy in the suit?
You know, he's the head vampire.
Head vampire.
Yeah, he's
getting
these little, he's getting these little demon kids out there to do the deeds, I guess.
Yeah, well, you know, we have plenty more, but we're running out of time.
Maybe it's like cutting back real quick. Maybe it's like a lack of a better term, like an energy thing. You allowed them in, and now they took something from you, and that's why your health is failing. And now they can go back.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hard to
Just
say.
spitballing. It could be anything.
Hard to say. I mean, but if they were vampires, you'd think they would bite, eat, whatever they do. You know,
right, to
drink
get
the
that
blood of people. If they're demonic entities, I guess they could just leave a residual evil in the home, I suppose. I mean, I don't know. This is really a tough one to wrap your head around. There's so many sightings of black-eyed kids, and there's so many cases that we could literally go over. We just don't have time for.
Yeah.
But there's no true explanation as to what is it and why is it different for different people.
Right.
Some people have escaped it because they were too afraid to let them in. Some people apparently let them in and had tragic things happen. Some people let them in and had failing health issues. Some people, nothing even happened to them. The kids just, like the little Kylie and Ben, you know, leave some stones and some sticks in the trees and giggle and laugh and run off. I mean, doesn't mean that she wasn't going to do something to them.
Yeah.
Maybe they just escaped that plight. But Nonetheless, it's really hard to figure out what they are. So we thought we'd try and get into some possible explanations of what a black-eyed child could be. Now, some paranormal experts believe that these little BECs are extraterrestrials, vampires, or ghosts. And as we said in the one English case, they thought they were ghosts.
Right.
They were a returning ghost of little kids that were murdered. In a lot of lore, they fit the description of a vampire with the pale skin. And not all vampires have black eyes, but some movies they'll be portrayed as, having the black evil eyes.
Yeah.
Some have beautiful blue eyes. I mean, who knows? But the fact that they need permission to enter is a vampire lore. And extraterrestrials are often depicted with the black eyes, right?
Right.
These kids have hair and stuff, and usually when you're seeing the gray alien depictions or the different types of aliens that are listed, they always have the big, non-colored, black, gaping eyes.
And they're not wearing clothes.
But they're usually not wearing clothes.
Yeah.
They're bald-headed. They're not talking to you, et cetera, et cetera. So any one of those could be, I suppose, extraterrestrial, vampire, or ghost could be an explanation. One thing I found, but I kind of debunked right out of the chute, is that a black-eyed child could be linked to an old Cornavi Celtic tribe that may or may not have practiced blood sacrifices. Now, so these particular tribes, there were like 3 different tribes that fall under this Cornavi. They were from the Iron Age through the Roman Age up until approximately the 5th century. I found nothing that literally stated that they practiced blood sacrifices. There was some potential indication that they may have sacrificed animals, but also may not have, that it was more of a Native American thing where they were offering like deer tongues and stuff to the spirits and things of that nature.
Yeah.
But there was really no evidence to link this particular group of people to anything. But if you wanted to believe that that was the case, if you are practicing in blood sacrifices to spiritual entities, could you drum up demons? I suppose you could. I mean, let's face it, there were blood sacrifices in the Bible,
Right, yeah.
and fat was reserved for God. And when you talk about the Torah, I mean, that's how you atoned for sins. You had to kill 3 doves and 2 lambs and whatever and bring it to the altar. And
yeah.
So does every blood sacrifice result in demonic possession? I would say no, based on biblical scripture.
Right.
So I'm going to rule that one out, but it's still an explanation as to what
it's a theory, so we got to throw it out there. Yeah.
One that's kind of crazy is that it's a mass hallucination. I can't.
So let's say the one guy's aunt was 1980s, right?
Yeah.
And then 15 years later, a random guy in America saw one, and how is that mass hallucination?
It's not.
We got to throw it out there, though.
So, and I think the reason they're saying mass hallucination is because of all the sightings in England. They're saying that those people, and the way they came up with this explanation is they said that there were covert military experiments going on over the years, and they could have left behind some type of chemical or something that made these people see apparitions, that they're basically under the influence of a chemical. Not buying it.
No.
That's just not. And
even if it did happen over there, it's not happening over here.
Right. And it's all over the world, not just in that area of England. So I'm not buying that. And then the other thing, realistically speaking, is when you're talking about a chemical leak, how long does that chemical, I mean, if they spilled those things in 1960 and they're still having
in 2021,
how long is a chemical causing hallucination?
Yeah. And why aren't there more hallucinations?
Yeah, I'm not.
Constantly, all day with other stuff.
Yeah. Because it's not.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
But that's one of the explanations that people have, so we threw it out there.
Yep.
The last one, which wasn't on the internet, but I figured if you're going to try and touch all bases,
Yep, might as well.
it could just be a normal kid.
Yeah.
Wearing blackout contact lenses.
Trying to do a prank or something.
Yeah. And so I was thinking, well, how hard would it be to get your hands on blackout contacts? So I actually looked it up. And I would say it's difficult. Now, I know a lot of people out there are going to say, no, it's not. You can get them every day. We're not talking about now.
Right now, yeah, that's
now,
a different ballgame.
Colored contact lenses are the norm. I
Yeah.
mean, you don't even know what color a person's eyes is because they could be wearing, contacts.
Right.
But not in 1996. So if you look up color contacts and all that stuff, they were available from like 1971 on. So they've been around a long time. But if you look up the cost of them, in order to get a blacked out lens, it runs somewhere between $500 and $1,000 to buy contact lenses that will completely black out your eyes.
Yeah.
Because most contact lenses just go over the iris. To get one that fits your entire eye, number one, they have to be specially made to fit your eye, or they would be like horribly uncomfortable.
Right.
If you got one that was too big and it's going up and down inside your orbital area, I would think that would just be so irritating to your eye. You wouldn't just be running around wearing them.
Yeah, and you'd be like blinking weird because you can't control that your eye's trying to protect itself.
Right. So,
and what 10-year-olds are walking around with $500 to $1,000 to go buy contacts?
Exactly. and so I throw it out there as a possibility, but I would reject it immediately by stating 9, 10-year-old kids don't have $1,000 or $500 or even $200 to buy a set of specialized contact lenses so that they can prank somebody once. And then
they could buy those, but they can't spare a couple bucks to go see Mortal Kombat. Come on.
Yeah, not buying it. But anyway, those are possible explanations as to why black-eyed kids exist. I am going to go demonic realm.
Yeah.
I know we say that every time. People are probably like, what is with these two guys? But what else personifies evil like that?
Right. And if you want to call it a vampire, you can. That doesn't mean that vampires are not demonic.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
if you want to get really choosy with words.
I remember a long time ago, there was a take on vampires. There was a movie, it might have just been called Dracula. But what it boiled down to, and it was actually a pretty good movie, but what it boiled down to was the original Dracula, the original vampire, was Judas.
Oh, wow.
Judas Iscariot.
Yeah.
And, because he hung himself. And so when he hung himself, he didn't get to enter into the kingdom of heaven. He was a traitor to Christ. So his punishment was to walk the earth as the undead, and he became a vampire. I mean, that was the basis of the movie.
Right.
I'm talking about, not reality.
Yeah.
There's no biblical scripture that says that, but that's what the movie was about. And so a vampire literally is like the epitome of evil that comes up from the bowels of hell. And so could it be that? I mean, is that what these kids are? Are they just evil little entities running around and pulling on the coattails of people that are out hiking just to torture you?
Yeah, could be.
I don't know. Yeah, it's crazy, but there it is. And then when we get into our little popularity thing that we always do, there are no festivals, there's no themes or anything that glorifies their existence or that we celebrate,
which is a good thing,
shape or form. Yeah, because
it's not like Lizard Man or Bigfoot. Those are cool.
Yeah, those are cool.
Little demon kids, that's not cool.
No, it's not. And there were 3 movies made that I could find. 2012, Black-Eyed Kids. 2015, Black-Eyed Children, Let Me In is the name of that one. And that one actually is not just a movie, but it's firsthand accounts of black-eyed kids, so it might be worth a watch.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it. But they supposedly have found footage, and that reminds me of Lost Tapes.
Yeah.
It was all bogus, But what the heck, it's still kind of fun to watch that stuff. And then we watched the trailer to the 2025 movie called The Black-Eyed Children.
Yeah.
And it looked B-rated cheesy.
Yep.
But I might watch it.
It's worth a watch still, yeah.
Probably going to do it. So you got anything else, Jake?
No, I enjoyed it. This was a good one. And just so you guys know, there was hundreds of more sightings.
Oh, yeah. It's
so
countless.
many more that you can go find that we just didn't have time to go over.
Yeah. And I think the bottom line is don't let them in.
Yeah, that's it.
That's going to be the key to it. If you got kids begging you for a ride or your phone or wants to come in the house or
just
something.
Make them open their eyes first.
And have them look up. Say, look at me. If they've got black eyes.
Front kick them and close the door.
Front kick them in the throat and close the door immediately. And then you probably be fine.
Yeah, you'll be all right because that's what it seems like.
That's what it seems like. If you don't let them in, you're good to go.
Yeah.
You let them in and your life changes forever. So there it is. Black-eyed kids. Hope you enjoyed it. In 2 weeks, our next episode, we're going to be looking at the puckwudgie.
The puckwudgie.
He's a weird little creature, kind of a cross between a porcupine and a nymph or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's a weird little thing, but they're seen, again, kind of all over the place, but mainly in Massachusetts. And so if you live in Massachusetts and you know something about puckwudgie, give us an email.
Let us know.
Yeah, let us know. Otherwise, stay tuned and learn about the puckwudgie.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the show and you want to help us out, then go ahead and give us a follow, leave us a review, and don't forget to turn on the automatic download button so you don't miss any upcoming episodes. And as always, if you've had any experiences, stories, thoughts, comments, or questions, we'd love to hear from you. Send us an email to cryptidfanatic@gmail.com. Let us know if you'd like to be on the show or just have your story featured during one of our episodes.